I want to welcome you to the Pro Mindset Podcast. The Pro Mindset Podcast is all about diving into the headspace that results in championship performance. High-performing athletes, winners, have this mental flow and have a positive headspace for their performances and success. Join me, Craig Domann, sports attorney and NFL agent, on this podcast. I will interview pro athletes, college athletes, football coaches, and sports personalities. Together, we can discover how you can get in the flow and have your own pro mindset. I want to welcome a special guest today, Robert Thomas, defensive lineman with the Buffalo Bills. I've worked with Robert for around 6 years. He came out of the University of Arkansas, and he's been on a handful of NFL teams during his journey in the NFL. We're going to talk today about his perspective, his mindset, his experiences related to his career. Welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me, big dog. Appreciate being here, Craig.
Okay, Robert, let's look at what's going on right now. You're going into, is this year 5 or year 6?
Year 6.
So you're going into year 6 in the NFL. That is like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody sees like, Adam Vinatieri's 46 years old and Tom Brady's 41, soon to be 42, but there ain't very many of those guys in the locker room.
Right.
Right? So going into your 6 years, a blessing to have the opportunity to even play 6 years. Mm-hmm. What is your mindset moving into this season?
I mean, pretty simple. I really keep it, every year I keep it the same. I'm one of those guys that I know that every year I'm going to have to prove myself. Every year I'm going to have to show that I belong there. So I just go in there with the same mindset, knowing that, I have a family to feed, and I got to make something happen. So I'm one of those guys that I know I need to make a spark every day. Like practice, preseason, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm on that field, I got a spark. So, that's just my mindset going into it.
Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the locker room. You've got a handful of guys, not very many, that have been paid a crazy amount of money. They got the security, the job security, and the financial security because they got a big contract. Mm-hmm. Then you got some guys that haven't proven anything. They don't even know what the NFL's about, but they've been drafted pretty good.
Right.
So the teams are going to give them, they're going to redshirt them. Yeah. They're going to take care of those guys and see if they figure it out. And if they figure it out, they're going to be primetime guys. They don't figure it out, they'll kick them to the curb, right? And then you got a bunch of guys in the middle, and you're in that group that you could be a 16-game starter this year. You could start half the games. You could be a sub-package performer. Mm-hmm. Or you could be a guy that gets kicked to the curb by the teams because they want to go with somebody younger or somebody cheaper, somebody sexier, somebody like that.
Right.
So when you're in that situation where it could go either way, you really have to do everything you can in every place you can to make sure that you give yourself the best opportunity to make it. Because what typically happens is if you do that, a lot of times you'll catch a break. Somebody that they were banking on being the guy comes down with some boo-boo, and he's on IR all year, and then you just step right in.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
But if you don't prepare and somebody goes down and
you miss that moment, then you don't get that moment back.
You don't get it back.
Yes, sir.
And they go find somebody on another team or off the streets.
Exactly.
Right? So what is it, as a defensive player, being a defensive lineman, you can only control the controllables that relate to you.
Right.
You can't worry about the fact that they took a top 10 pick in the draft this year.
Right.
You can't worry about the guy that they got a guy on under contract that's one of the highest paid guys in the league at D-line.
Right.
You can't control the fact they picked somebody up, I think, off waivers last year and paid him some money.
Yeah. Right.
What can you control?
I can control me. I know, one thing that I always try to keep it simple. I was always taught, my grandfather used to tell me, if there's 2 rabbits, and if I focus on both the rabbits, I won't catch either. So I try to make sure that I focus on just me. Make sure that I'm doing what Robert is supposed to be doing, being the best Robert that I can be. And one thing that I know about that, once I do my part and I worry about Robert, things fall in place. When I get to thinking about counting numbers and they can keep 5. I can be number 5. I've never been a guy like that. So when I get to thinking like that, that's when I know you got to get right, Rob. That's not you right now. That's not you. It's not going to end well for you. So my whole mental is always about being me, doing what got me there. So I'm big on that. I try to stay focused into my own game.
I love your grandfather's, example or analogy about rabbits, because if you're chasing 2 rabbits in the NFL, you're going to get cut.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
So you got to figure out what your rabbit is and focus on that. And what you just communicated was your rabbit's taking care of your business. Okay. So let's talk about, you've had some pretty good seasons. You've also had some pretty good camps. And a lot of times it's unpredictable.
Right.
I mean, you and I both know a couple years ago in New York, you should have made the team after the preseason, but you didn't. Right. So how do you overcome those scenarios where you do everything right, you perform, and the team perhaps makes a stupid decision? How do you overcome that in your mind?
Pretty strong background of faith and belief. So I know that, like, I've always been taught it's about timing and being in your season. Sometimes it's just not your moment, and that's kind of how I see it. That's how I kind of tell myself, just so, like you said it too, it's hard, especially when you're giving it everything you got and you've done everything that you could do, and it just don't go your way sometimes. Sometimes it's just not your moment. So I know that the next time that I get a chance to show it, from every time that I get an opportunity, whether it's practice, whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's in a meeting and coach is asking a question and somebody can't answer it, and I back him up and answer it, I'm going to shoot after every moment that I can. If I have a chance, I'm going to put my best foot forward.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, here's the thing that I think that happens especially to a lot of young players is they do start worrying about things that they can't control.
Exactly.
They start counting the reps.
Exactly.
They start wondering, is a coach like me? Is he looking me in the eye? Is he giving me feedback and criticism, or is he ignoring me? Are the older guys paying attention to me and homeboying with me, or are they ignoring me too? And you can almost become paranoid as a young player when you're in an NFL locker room, because you're paranoid.
Right.
Because you're like, oh my God, this guy didn't like me. He didn't put me in. He put this other guy in. And oh man, I saw him in the hall and he wouldn't look at me. Then he act like he didn't know my name. Okay. And so if you get into that paranoia mode, don't you agree or not that that's pretty much a pretty strong recipe for failure?
Yes, sir. Most definitely. I feel like, especially, I can relate coming in, like, when I was a younger guy, I came in, I was undrafted. So, like, what I've always known was, like, if a coach likes you, if he's going to talk to you, he's going to say, and I hate to say that that's out the window, but that's really out the window in NFL. Your coach, don't get me wrong, he's your coach, but he doesn't always have the final say. You know what I mean? So as long as you're doing, and I didn't learn that until I got older and realized, okay, because I had a coach at the Giants that really wasn't the biggest fan on me. And when it came down to it, I was there. So I realized then that, like, okay, it's not always about your coach. It's about what you're doing. At the end of the day, like, nobody can stop you but you. So if you're not, you can't be upset if you have an opportunity, you get to go out there and you don't perform, you don't shine, it's on you. So Craig, I'm one of them guys that, like, I believe that, I honestly call hard to believe, like, it's never anyone's fault but my own. I always put it on me, because I know at the end of the day, if I did something better, if I did something different, it could have went different, you know what I mean? But I know that some of my better times is when I have no regrets. Like, I did everything I was supposed to do there. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing that I feel like with young guys. Like, don't worry about what's going on. Don't worry about what coaches are saying. Don't worry about what vets are saying. Just do your part. Make sure you're doing everything that you can do. So if it don't go your way, you can still sleep well at night knowing that I gave this game all of me.
Amen. So here's what I've seen, Robert. If you do what you just said, which is you give it everything you got, and the team cuts you, you can keep your head high, because you can't do I mean, you can't do more than you can do.
Right.
If you give them everything you got, can you give them any more?
Can't give them anything else.
Can't give them anything more.
Right.
So if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, you can hold your head up high and move on to the next opportunity, whether that's moving to a different team or moving to the real world.
Right.
He was talking about your identity.
Right.
You know, hey, you can feel like a failure if you used to be a baller. But you got to know that you're more than a dad, more than a husband, more than a football player, more than an NFL player. You have to look at yourself as a lover, a care provider. You have to look at your action words, not your roles.
Right.
So when you go to the NFL and you want to maximize your opportunity, you got to be a competitor.
Most definitely.
Fighter. You got to be able to get off the mat when you get knocked down.
That's right.
You got to be able to bust your ass even though your coach is not really liking you.
Yeah.
Not even coaching you.
Yeah.
Not even talking to you. Because that happens.
Yes, sir.
And so if you can do that, most likely you're going to be more successful in ball, more successful after ball.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the toughest year? And I think I know which one. And it wasn't for football reasons. But what was the toughest year you had in the NFL? And describe for our audience what you went through. And where did that start? Did it start in Washington?
It definitely started to watch. Just because, I mean, you got to go from one team to a whole different. I went from the Redskins all the way across the world to the Seahawks. And, I mean, I just had a son. He was 1 year old at the time. I had my wife who didn't know anything about TC, and she's just down about it. And that was like the first time that, like, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is really the NFL, you know, and this, a lot of people don't get to see that part of it. Like, they just, I mean, people feel like because you're in the NFL, everything's right, everything's going good, but they don't get to see that part of the game. Like, when you get cut and you got to come home and explain this to your wife, and most of the time, like, she probably already kind of knows because you're home earlier, and that's never a good feeling to sit down and have to talk about that, you know, and then go from that place to the next place while you're going to go practice and she's packing up her whole house by herself, and a baby with her is rough. It was really rough.
Well, let's talk about this. So you started out in Washington. You went to Seattle. Seattle let you go about mid-year.
Yep.
And the very same afternoon, I got a call from the Patriots, and they wanted to bring you in. So you went from Washington, D.C., to Seattle, Washington, to Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Okay, within like 2 months, 3 months.
Right.
Then you're in Boston. You're doing your thing for the Patriots. And the Miami Dolphins call and want to activate you from their practice squad, from the Patriots practice squad. So then you end up in Miami.
Right.
So here we have a young man who was on 4 different teams in the same season. Coast to coast. Right?
Yes, sir.
Besides coming home and, like, for example, you got cut by Washington. You got cut by Seattle.
Right.
You got promoted from New England to Miami.
Right.
And then in the Miami, was it the first game or the second game?
Very first game.
Very first game, hyperextend your right arm. Dislocated your right elbow.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this young man dislocated his right elbow in the first game he was on the active roster in December for the Dolphins. Had to spend the whole offseason doing what?
Rehabbing, getting it back together. And I wish that there was a show. I mean, because I like Hard Knocks. I'm a Hard Knocks. I like it, but I feel like they just kind of itch on it. Like, they kind of scratch the surface. Like, go ahead and show them the real parts. Go show people what really goes on. And I love it. In the same breath, it's like a love-hate type relationship. Like, you think like, man, this is the worst thing. But you just, like, you couldn't imagine doing nothing else. Like, you couldn't fathom. I couldn't think, like, doing anything else but playing football. So, I mean, It's definitely rough. It's a rough. It was a rough experience. But I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I loved it. I kind of see like the brighter parts of it. Like my family got to see so much life. Like they got to, like we got to swim on Christmas Day in Florida. Like so just to see something like that. I mean, like we always try to find all the positives, even when stuff is going wrong. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, I was just looking up on the NFLPA website your status for 2015 was that crazy year, and looks like you were only on the Patriots team for 3 weeks before you.
If it was even that,
maybe in 2 weeks.
Maybe 2 weeks, yeah.
Before you got promoted to Miami, and you got paid by 4 different teams that season. So I'd hated to be your tax accountant. Right. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. And so, just so the audience knows, you started your career in Washington.
Right.
You went to Seattle. You went to New England. You went to Miami. You went to Carolina. You went to New York Giants. And now you're with Buffalo Bills.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you've hit a ton of teams already. I don't know how many more you can see before you get out of the league.
Right.
But hopefully not too many more.
Man, yeah, exactly. I just know, man, one thing I know about myself, like, you can't coach that work ethic. That's something, like, I feel like that's something in you, you know what I mean? And I feel like as long as I continue to be me, Rob will have a job. I honestly believe that.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing that I do know. I know you have talent. I know you have want to. You've gained a tremendous amount of experience working with lots of different defensive line coaches, multiple schemes with these different teams. You are, experienced in terms of just traveling too. You've lived in lots of different places. Your family's gotten very comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
Kayla's your lovely wife, and she's had to go. She's been with you the whole time.
Every step of the way.
Every step of the way. So she's battle tested. And so as you continue to build your career, and it could be 5 more years or it may not, it could be 10 more years, or it could be 5 more months.
Right.
You have a very strong support system with your wife, and you have a outstanding, good-looking young man for a son, Raylan, and he's going to be a big man too.
Yes, sir. He's
Absolutely.
not going to be small.
Well, tell everybody how big you are. You're not.
No, sir. I'm 6'2", 320. So I'm not a small guy myself either.
No, man. And you need to. We have to buy 2 seats on the plane for you to fit into, man.
Easily, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Who do you see as the bell cow, the guy that's like the number 1 defensive lineman that you played with, and why?
I mean, that's a no-brainer. I got to get at the Snacks. Heyman Harris, like, he was one of them guys that, like, I mean, I got to spend a lot of time with and got to, like, learn from. And just to know the game the way that he knows it, from, I mean, formations to stances of the offensive lineman to audible checks that he know, just to know that, like, people wouldn't think that he would know, you know what I mean? And to be able to make the plays that he's not supposed to make because of just simply knowing what's going on the field. Besides that, man, he a baller though. Like, he's really a baller. Like, to see a defensive nose guard get over 100 tackles in a season is impressive. You know.
Oh, that's crazy.
You never see no stuff like that. So I got to give it to Snacks by far.
So Snacks is kind of like the guy that you look up to in terms of, hey, his abilities, his preparation, his football IQ.
Yeah.
What did he do and what did he teach you to do on a week-by-week, game-by-game basis that helped you get better? Was it related to watching film?
Right.
And how to watch film? Was it something else?
It was really just studying the guys up front and knowing who you're going against. Like, he spent a lot of time, like, knowing, like, who he was going against. So, if it's just film watching or turning up he likes to watch a lot of, like, the actual game footage, like the ones that's on TV. So he can hear the checks, he can hear the center if he's calling things and stuff like that. So, like, just learning, like, little stuff like that to pick up on can change the game for you. Can definitely change the game.
So how would you describe film study from a player perspective?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, like I'm going to know what my guy or what the guys that I'm going against are all about. So I'm going to watch play after play first of them just simply playing, like seeing are they tough, are they a overset or are they a soft setter, like just to kind of get a feel on the guy that I'm going against. Then after that, I'm going to check all the formations. So I want to know which plays or which formations are they going to run this power out of? Are they running power out of flex? Are they running power out of two back? How are they running it? How are they setting it up? How are they setting up the zone? So I go from that to that. Then I go to actually, now I listen to all the calls. So I'll try to hear different calls, different checks that they might make, different audibles, and just kind of go from there with it. Just try to catch as much as I can. Then I like to check out people's stance. I want to see how he moves. So like if he's a guy that flinches his knee first, if the first thing that moves on him is his knee, or does he open his hand, or is he a flincher? I try to find any little thing that I can pick up on, that I can jump on.
Okay, Robert, what do you mean by that? So he moves his knee or he flinches or something like that. So is that like
meaning that
before the snap?
During the snap. So when they snap that ball, what's the first thing on him that actually moves? Because a lot of guys, like especially with guards, I get a lot of the guards that they might, like, they twitch like their inner leg, they like shove it in and then push out. So you can kind of catch up on little things that like you can find, and like, okay, after I see him flinch up, I know I can go there. I'm going because I know that ball is getting snapped. You know what I mean? So just little small things, anything that you can find on the guy. Like a lot of guys still, I mean, and it's kind of crazy, but I mean, still in the league, like a lot of guys, if you look up during the whole time as they call him to play and they come out there, watch him in. He'll look at you. He'll tell you where he's going. Still to this day, they're going to show you, like, it might be a half of a second. He's going to look, though. He's going to let me know where he's going. And so I try to pick up on anything that I can.
I think it's really difficult for offensive players to come up to the line of scrimmage and not look at where they're going.
Right, exactly.
Quarterbacks have a tendency to look all over the place, but the last place they look is typically where they're throwing the ball. Because it's just counterintuitive to move in a direction you've never seen, throw to a side that you've never looked at.
Right. Really, it's a game inside of a game. Like, really, like you're playing football, but you're picking up on so much more. Like, it's so much more than just me finding this ball, me going to go make a tackle. It's so much more than that.
When did you learn the finer points of the game? Did you learn some of that in college, or did it more come in the pros?
I learned a lot in college. I can't knock my college coaches. I learned a lot. But I really didn't pick it up. Like, I didn't get to understand the game until probably about my third year, going into my third year, when I actually learned how to really watch film, like really knowing what I'm watching, instead of like just going through it, watching it, okay, I know what my guy's going to do, but to actually know, okay, in this play, in this setting, they're going to run this play, and this play. In this setting, they can only run this play, and this play. And when you can break it down like that and know, like, okay, they're in I-back. I know they're going to run zone. They can run power. Or they can run counter. You know what I mean? And they're going to run a play-action pass, if that. Okay, it's 4 plays that I know if I see this, I know that it's either that play, or that play. So that makes it a lot easier than to think about, okay, are they doing this? Are they doing that? No, I know what they're doing. I know what got to be coming.
Okay, so let's go back. You have a 5-year-old son. Mm-hmm. You're from Muskogee, Oklahoma, by way of Coffeyville, JUCO.
Right.
And then the Arkansas Razorbacks there in Fayetteville.
Right, yes, sir.
So your football journey took you to Coffeyville and Fayetteville, and then to all those places we talked about.
Yes, sir.
When did you first dream of being an NFL player?
That came when I was a kid, like I would tell anybody who would hear me, like I'm letting you know, like I'm gonna play in the NFL one day. I'm gonna play in the NFL. I'm gonna play. I feel like, especially being a kid from like Muskogee and knowing that this sport could change my life. Like I knew that at a very young age that if I was gonna leave Muskogee, it was gonna be through this sport. And I knew that. I understood that. Like when, like around 8 or 9, I understood that.
And so what did people say when you told them? Let's say you were 12 years old and you told your uncle or told your dad or told your mom.
They kind of laugh, like they're laughing. Like I remember, I posted maybe probably about a month ago. Like I was talking about a 5th grade English teacher. Like I wrote a whole paper about me playing in the NFL. I want to play, and like she gave me a D- because she said it lacked realization. So are you serious? I swear I couldn't make this up. And sure enough, I got to go back and see her. Like, matter of fact, I was with the Giants. That was my 4th year in the league. I got to go back and see her, and she just hugged me, and I'm so sorry. Like she remembered it, and it just kind of like you never really know. You know what I'm saying? You never know. But I feel like, man, I don't mean to sound, I don't want to come out like I just knew that one day I would play in the NFL. I was always taught that if you speak it into existence, it'll happen. You just keep speaking it, it'll happen. The power of the tongue is very mighty. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm proof of that.
Well, to speak it, you got to think it.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And a lot of people think things, but they don't speak it.
Right.
But if you do both, then you got
to mean it.
You got to mean it, and you got a little decision to make. Mm-hmm. Because are you going to work hard?
Right.
Are you going to pay the price?
Right.
Are you going to go out for the team?
Right.
Are you going to get ready when it's hot?
Right.
Are you going to play hard when the coach is not a lot of fun to play for?
Mm-hmm.
Those things seem to naturally fall into place when you think it and speak it.
Right.
Right? So what are your thoughts about the game of football today? A lot of moms are not letting their little boys play because they're scared of concussions, even though we have safer equipment than we've ever had. Is little Raylan or big Raylan, is he going to play football at some point in time?
Most definitely. He starts camp July the 27th. Like he puts
this year?
Yes, sir. This year he puts on full pads.
You're going to let him play tackle?
Yes, sir. He's going to play football. And that was a decision that I wanted him to make for himself. I didn't want to push him into it. That's what he wanted to do. So, sure enough, I'm going to let him do that. Because I feel like I couldn't be the person that I am today without this game helping me be who I am. I feel like it definitely helped. Like, I learned so much outside of the game of football through football. You know what I mean? I learned so much about life through football. And I tell everyone, everybody asks me all the time, like, how can you keep doing this? Man, it look like, man, you look like you're hurting, you look like this, you look like that. It ain't going good for you, man. If y'all just understood, like, how much, I love this game. I love what I do. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of guys out there, I feel like that they play it because of the money. There's nothing, I don't hold that against anybody. If that's what you do it for, that's what you do it for. But I feel like I'm one of the guys that genuinely, I love to do this. Like, I feel like when I get to go out there on that field, I feel like a gladiator. Like, I'm out there, like, and this is war. Like, this is the only place that, like, I can cut free and just be as aggressive, physical as I want to. It won't be in jail for it.
But for football, we would have never met.
Exactly.
We would have never worked together.
Right, yes, sir.
Okay. What's the biggest thing you've learned through your NFL experience that doesn't have anything to do with the game of football, but it's something related to being in the business, being in the league?
Don't let your highs be too high and your lows be too low. Like, in life, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be ups and downs. But how you manage them, just stay even keel. Don't let that high moment of life be your everything. You got to stay even keel, keep going. Trust the process. And when you get knocked down, trust the process. Don't be low, don't be down. Get back up and stay even keel. Keep going. Because eventually something's going to pan out. It always does.
That is going to be a very important skill for you to pass along to your son. Mm-hmm. It's a very important skill and mindset to have for anything you do after football.
Right.
And it's a mandatory requirement. You got to do it during ball to be successful.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the coolest? I hope your career is long from over, but let's just say it was over today.
Okay.
And you're looking back, and you're in your rocking chair, and you're sitting there with your grandkids, and they're saying, "Hey, Grandpa, what was the coolest thing about playing in the NFL?"
I think, honestly, like, since I was a young kid, like, I always thought that I was, like, super athletic. I thought I'm not a D lineman. I'm a quarterback. I'm a running back. I'm not supposed to be a D lineman. I'm a running back. I'm a quarterback. So, I have to say, like, to be able to say I'm one of the guys that have lined up in a backfield in the NFL, I can honestly say that I was one of the guys who's been in the backfield in the NFL. So, just to be able to get back there and open up a hole to block, I can say I was playing fullback I was a running back at that time.
At 300 plus pounds.
300 plus. I was probably about 330 then, 335.
Wow. Looking at the NFL from a pop culture standpoint, and what I mean by that is, professional athletes are put on a pedestal.
Right.
Professional athletes are given privileges and opportunities that maybe the average Joe doesn't get.
Right.
What could you say about the NFL and the pop culture that you didn't know was there until you got there?
Really just the different opportunities that, like, really, like, come your way. I knew that, like, there was going to be times that you get different opportunities in life, but when you got that tag on you, like that NFL, that NBA, MLB tag, like, it's like, I feel like it just changes folks' like opinion about you. Like, it really, like, I tell my wife all the time, it doesn't really change the player. It changes people around them more than anything. You know what I mean? And just overall experience, like the things that you may get, the things that you may experience, the things that you get to see, like, just from, hey, I'm an NFL player, is unreal, like, unreal.
So what you're telling me is that, ballers that play in college, that go to the NFL, they get paid, they get these opportunities, they change less than the people around them.
Most definitely.
And what do you attribute that to? I'm just going to take a guess, that their friends are envious, they love to be in that situation.
Right.
And they can't go in the locker room. They can't go on the field. They're not on TV. They're not getting interviewed after games. Right. But they get a chance to go along for the ride.
Right.
So they change.
Right. I just feel like just because, like, it's more of a dream than anything. I mean, like, everybody says, like, okay, I'm playing NFL. I'm playing every year. I'm playing NFL, and it's such a small group of guys that get to actually play in it. And I feel like, to people, like to actually know a person is actually doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you see it as kind of more like, okay, like, I mean, like, myself, like, I feel like, okay, this doesn't feel like anything new to me, because I've been saying this since I was a child. This is what I planned on doing. This is what I was going to do. And then you got, like, your parents who, like, okay, baby, yeah, baby. But they really don't have that same heart feeling about you doing it as you may have. You know what I mean? So for you to get it, and they like, oh my goodness, like, you really did it, it's like hitting the lotto. You know what I mean? So it is. I feel like that's why that's kind of how it changes folks more than what it changes the actual player.
Robert.
Yes, sir.
When you look at an NFL player's challenge of making a team, unless he's a first rounder or, highly paid superstar, every year's a new year. Every year's a new challenge, new teammates, maybe new team, maybe a new position coach, new city. All these things are new. Mm-hmm. And what I have found is that when players have dreams and goals, that are just for them. They don't go as far
Right.
as the guys that have dreams that are for others.
Right.
So a lot of times when guys get married, players have kids, they get a little bit more committed because now they got a little bit more.
Right.
They have more people to take care of. Right?
Yes, sir.
And what I found is that it's always hard. Every year is hard.
Right.
Sometimes the third year is harder than the second.
Yeah.
Sometimes the fifth is harder than the third. And everybody expects it to be easier because of college it's easier.
Right.
High school it's easier, man. You're a sophomore, you just want to be on the varsity. By the senior, you're a star and you're going off to college. Same thing happens in college. You go to the pros, until you get one of those life-changing contracts, I have seen that it's harder later, not easier.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Is that true?
Most definitely. Like I'm in a situation now, like just being an older guy who not necessarily has proven himself in this league, like to the point that I got to talk contracts or anything, you know what I'm saying? So it makes it a lot harder because now like you're competing against younger guys, cheaper guys, you know, who they might not have the experience you have, but that's okay. I can mold that. I got time, you know, and being an older guy, like being an older person in life, period, like time is, you know what I'm saying, time is of the essence. So like you only get so much, you know what I mean, before it's done. So, I mean, just knowing me being an older guy that I have no time for like any slip ups. Like I have zero time for it. Like I mean, my family can't eat off of slip ups. They can't.
Exactly.
That's not what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So I'm one of the people that I know that, okay, I know my task in hand, I know what I gotta do, I know what I can do. So why not just do it?
Well, for you, you're in that point in your career where it's go time, it's show time,
Yes, sir.
or it's no time.
Yes, sir.
And if you take care of your business, you continue this journey. If you don't, it's over.
It's over, sir.
Okay. So when you have adversity and you have hurdles that you got to jump over, what is your big reason that motivates you to be successful? Because I'm just going to guess, I might be wrong, but if you didn't have a family, you weren't married, and you didn't have a girlfriend, and you're just a single dude, didn't have a son, wouldn't give him back, he's probably the best thing in your life.
Right.
But it's like, let's say that wasn't there yet, and it got really hard. The NFL gets really hard, and they said, hey man, you know, we need your playbook, and we're going to be sending you home.
Right.
You could say, I mean, I can go.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I can go get a real job. I've got my degree. I've got my education. I got opportunities. I got smarts.
Yeah.
But when you have all that stuff, you really have an opportunity to have a bigger reason than just you.
Right.
How would you describe what yours is?
Really, I mean, it's pretty plain and simple, man. I have a wife. You know what I'm saying? I have a son, and I don't want for my son to ever have to feel like, okay, this is my only way. This is my only option. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew at a very young age that this is going to be my only way. Like this is it. Like, this doesn't happen, Rob. Like you're not going to strike oil anywhere else but doing this. And I don't want him to ever have to put a cap on himself. I want him to just, the sky's the limit. So I know that if I take care of business and do what I can do and handle business, it'll make his life a whole lot easier. And I get that. And I definitely get that it makes my wife's life a whole lot easier. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of stress off you. And I get that. And I accept it. I love doing it. You know what I mean? Like I think of it kind of like, you know, back in the days, like the old caveman, how like they'd go out and hunt, and then they'd come in there and slam the food on the table, eat, everyone eat, and everybody happy, you know what I'm saying? Everybody hugging them. So I see it. I mean, I'm the breadwinner of the family. I gotta bring it home. I gotta bring the food home. So yes, sir. That's how I see it.
How old are you right now?
28 years old.
So you're a 28-year-old veteran in the NFL. That if you could go back and be like 22, 23, 21, and be a rookie again, can't do it, but if you could, what would you tell your 20 22-year-old self that you know now that you didn't know then to help your 21-year-old self be successful in the NFL?
I would simply just tell, it'd be short and sweet. Like I think I said it first. Don't let your highs be too high, your lows be too low. Be Robert Thomas. Do exactly what got you here. Don't overthink it. Don't look at it no different. You playing football. Football is football. Football will never change. The game of football will always be the game of football. Don't let anything outside of football distract you on the game. And that's, simple as that. Simple as that. I feel like sometimes, you get, it's so much that goes into the game of football once you're in the NFL. It's bigger. I don't want to say it's bigger than football, but it's a lot more things that connect, that comes with that game. There's different, from politics to making sure people upstairs, is so much bigger. I feel like just more of anything, if I could have changed anything, just focus on the game. Play the game.
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Main thing the main thing. Simple as that. Simple as that.
It's very simple, but it's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Because once you get in the league, there's so many distractions and so many temptations. Mm-hmm. And you're a great dad. You from everything I can tell, you're a great husband. Mm-hmm. You're keeping the main thing the main thing.
Yes, sir.
But there are a lot of things to be thinking about, because in the locker room, guys are talking about all this stuff.
Right.
This guy's got a private jet. This guy's got a house. This guy's got this. This guy's got some marketing gig. And all of a sudden, you're like, man, I want some of that.
Right.
One guy's driving a new dealer car because he went and showed up at the dealership and signed autographs for 3 hours, and he's got brand new wheels. And you're like, man, I had to buy mine.
Yeah.
I want one of those too.
Yeah. I'm one of them people though, man. I try my best tonight. Don't worry about what's going on some other person's plate. If you worried about his plate and you watching his food, then who gonna eat your food? All of your food gonna be cold. You ain't gonna eat. I don't want to eat that cold food now. You worry about him. You ain't worry about yourself. So I'm one of them guys that I guess because it's coming from I was raised by an older gentleman that that's just kind of how I see it. I focus on me and mine. That's what I do. Simple as that. I don't get too hung up on the next man's contract. I just worry about Rob. Because I know that if I'm watching you, I'm going to miss my blessings. How can I catch my blessings if I'm watching his blessings? You know what I'm saying? That's going to fall on me. And I won't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss my own blessing.
Amen. Well, one of the things I want to do is wish you the very, very best in 2019. Training camp comes up when?
The 24th.
So you got to report on July 24th.
Yes, sir.
A couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to understand that I got your back.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to go compete your butt off in Buffalo.
Yes, sir.
You're going to face some normal adversity, normal politics. And I just pray, hope, and encourage you. Give yourself the best possible opportunity to maximize the Lord's blessing on your career for 2019.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me, big dog.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pro Mindset. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. 5 stars, of course. You can follow us on our website, ProMindsetPodcast.com, or on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pro Mindset Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you the next time.